For a long time now, I've taken great pleasure, or at least some sense of satisfaction, in writing responses with my true emotions, with my what I'm feeling in the moment, putting it on screen, getting it one click away from being sent, and then deleting it. I used to not be this way. I used to respond in anger, with a sense of urgency, with a sense of righteousness, a desire to be correct, a desire to be proven right, to be acknowledged as the winner of a debate. There wasn't a single moment where I abandoned that. Although there was one very important moment that, led me down that path. There were two moments, really, and I'd like to tell you about them. The first is that a long time ago, I was on a message board and I argued with some people about something. And I felt like I was doing a pretty good job at stating my points, at least at convincing others. There were other people reading and commenting. And I didn't feel like I was doing too badly. But I was really worked up. I was really into it, trying to win this argument. And it was unwinnable. They were as righteous and seated in their beliefs as I was. And it got pretty heated. I wouldn't go so far as to say it was open hatred, but there was a lot of disdain and a lot of, I guess passive aggressive insults, maybe some direct insults. I was trying to be civil, but I was kind of addicted to responding like it was a high that I was feeling, and it was amping me up. Every chance I got, I would go look at the board and see if there was a new response to me and start typing up my own. And I'm not sure what happened really, but one day I just stopped responding. And I think I did have kind of a soft close to my argument where I said, today's a beautiful day outside. I'm just going to go outside and enjoy it. And you guys have a nice day. Maybe we'll pick this up on Monday or something. And that was like a Saturday morning. And I remember I went to the zoo. There was an event there that I'd wanted to go to or something. And it was like 10 a.m. at the zoo. And my body was shaking. My mind was still thinking about that. I felt like I had given up and failed in this quest, this righteous war I'd been waging. And I would say within 24 hours, my perspective on it had changed completely. I no longer felt compelled to respond. I no longer felt like I wanted to go back and keep punching the wall, metaphorically speaking. I felt at peace for the first time in a long time. That didn't cure me, but it certainly stuck with me, and it certainly made me, it served as a reference point going forward, that whenever I felt like I was in that situation, I thought about that moment. The other thing wasn't so much a heated moment, but I used to have a coworker that was really into the Roman orator Seneca. And he gave me a copy of one of Seneca's books one day. It was On Anger. And it was like an old 1940s, 1950s bound copy. It had been from some public library that had closed. It still had a stamp for the library in it. And he said, just hang on to it. You know, you don't have to give it back to me. And so I took it and I started reading it. And I don't agree with everything Seneca says in that book, but a number of things he said really stuck with me and resonated with me. His argument is that we should never respond to anything in anger, ever. And, you know, even to this day, there are people that will scoff at this and say, well, without anger, we're just docile, you know, putty. We have no firmness within us. We have no strength within us. Anger provides that strength. It provides the motivation to respond. And if it's a righteous cause, it is ammunition for us to do the correct actions. So we need that anger. Whereas Seneca says, you never want that anger in your life. It's a poison. It blinds you. It makes you swing too hard. Or it makes you not swing at the right thing. We become laser focused and driven by this intense hatred for what we see as something that hurt us or is hurting someone else. And he even addresses the motivation thing. He says, so there are some that say, without anger, that motivation to react might not be there. And to be passive is worse than to act in anger. You know, they can't, or they are unwilling to take the risk that they'll do the right thing without that anger inside them. There are a lot of people in this world who can't stand being perceived as the loser of an argument. It drives them into just a insanity that they get trapped in forever. Narcissism, ego, face, saving face. They can't live with themselves if they don't respond. And so to them, anger is a tool to facilitate that response. They would rather die than not respond in some way. I'm not saying that deleting an angry response and walking away from an argument is always the right thing to do either. But I agree partially with Seneca in that To respond in anger is to limit yourself, and it may limit yourself in ways that are worse than not responding. I believe that. He goes on to say that there are several different scenarios where we respond in anger and we end up doing the wrong thing. The first is when we exaggerate the damage that has been done to us and we reciprocate based off that exaggeration. Someone hurt us, but they didn't really hurt us badly. It's a slight wound, but we retaliate and we hurt them very badly. The second is that we focus our anger on the wrong thing. Anger is like a blinder that prevents us from seeing the big picture. And so we see only a small pinhole of light, and we focus our response on that little pinhole of light. And maybe if we could see everything, if we could see the big picture, we could direct our response more appropriately. Another scenario Seneca says is that aside from, going too far, doing too much, overkill, and aside from missing the true target of our anger, the third thing, or not that there are only three things, but another thing is that we can make it worse by perpetuating a cycle. If they get angry, or if someone that is protective of the party that hurt us gets angry, it can just keep going and get stronger and stronger until it's a tornado of events that destroys a lot of lives. And it's difficult to let go of anger, and it's difficult to not respond and not get your word in. But I get his point that anger is information. It's not a tool for justice or vengeance or setting things right. It's information. We should always step back from it, look at the situation, and then respond appropriately. And sometimes the appropriate response is not to respond. If it's a tiny thing, you're saving face by not lowering yourself to an exaggerated response to that tiny thing. You're helping the universe heal by not punching back when something hits you. Obviously, if whatever made you angry or whatever hurt you is a persistent and ongoing thing, then that thing needs to be either corrected or you need to learn how to protect yourself from it. Often by removing yourself from any situation where it can affect you. And obviously, if that thing can hurt others, then you need to help them. Sometimes I get frustrated by comic book no-kill rules. I'm thinking to myself, the Joker has killed so many people. Batman just needs to save people and get rid of the Joker. or Superman needs to, you know, get rid of Lex Luthor because he's killed thousands of people. Or, to expand this out to religion, God needs to not allow evil. He needs to just let good things happen or whatever. I read a interview with Alan Moore once, though, where he was talking about Superman. And he's written several Superman stories. And he's also written some comic books that kind of spoof Superman or are inspired by Superman. I think there's one called Supreme that he did for Image Comics. But he was talking about Superman. And he says, at the Superman's best, he is a figure, like a godlike figure, who does not set rules for other people. He only sets rules for himself. And one of those rules is he's not going to destroy life. He's always going to give it a chance. Every time. And he sets that rule for himself because it is so easy for him to take life. And so he stops the bank robbers because they're hurting people, I guess financially or whatever, but he's not going to just terminate their lives. Even if they shot people or whatever, he's going to stop them and prevent them from hurting more people. That evil is always going to be there. New people will be born that will commit acts of evil. There are children right now in this world, innocent, sweet, lovely children who love their mamas and their mamas love them, that are going to do evil things in the future. And to think that we can fix the human heart by killing the Joker is a fallacy. And I understand that. Now, if it's up to me, I'm probably going to take the Joker out. I'm sorry to say. Batman can come get me and put me in Arkham Asylum for doing that, I guess. But I understand the comic book ethos of taking that stance. I read another Superman comic that was not Alan Moore, but Superman had a great quote in it. Someone questioned him, how many more people will die because you're unwilling to put down evil? And he says, I know that this decision may hurt people in the future, but that's the price we pay for striving to be good. And I'm on the fence of that quote, but the spirit of it does reach me. And I do get what he's trying to say there. That you can take a stance against evil and you can do whatever you can to try and stop it, but to take someone's life, to close the door on their life forever, and to become the judge, jury, and executioner is something never to be taken lightly. And there have been Superman stories where he has killed reluctantly. Only a handful of times, really, but it's happened. But the point of that quote was that, yeah, this in the long run may end up hurting people in the future. But right here, right now, in this moment, we're going to take the high road, and that's the price we pay for taking that road, is that we're never going to fix the human condition. We're never going to attach brainwashing devices to everyone and make them all happy and peaceful and take away their free will. We're going to live in the moment and make the decisions we make in the moment. And we're not going to make them in anger, and we're not going to make them in a sense of righteous defense of our way of life. We're going to step back. We're going to take a measured response to what's happening. And we're going to make that call. And I think in a way that sort of synchronizes with what Seneca was saying. Anger is always going to be able to reach you. You're never going to be completely free from it. But it reaching you and then causing you to react because of it, you are in control of that. You have to treat it like information and not like a tool of vengeance. Because you're really limiting yourself. You're limiting the wisdom that may be required to navigate the situation correctly. And you're limiting your future options by taking the anger road, which is the easy path. You know, it's like in Star Wars, the Sith Lords, the Dark Force feeds off of anger and impulsivity and power-hungry individuals who want to control the world. The world is a swirling mass of chaos, and so are human hearts. And we have to learn to temper our own heart and put that out in the universe. If we ever want to truly change ourselves for the better. You can't force another person to be good, nor can you punish the evil out of a person.